Warning, this podcast does not introduce any new information outside the Foundation's curriculum. Listener discretion is advised.
Hey there, Foundation fam. Welcome to one of our very first episodes of Real Doctors, Real Friends this season. We are the official podcast of Foundations of Medicine here at the UofA in the MD program. I'm your host, Roshan Abraham, along with my partner in medical education, Shereen Hamza.
Hi, everyone. We hope you had a blast during orientation week and are excited about starting medical school. It was truly awesome to meet all of you in person and have a chance to interact with the class of 2029.
Absolutely. And that energy from our incoming class of 2029 is just so therapeutic, isn't it? It definitely energizes me and renews my love for what we do. My summer involved lots of opportunities for reflection, especially around career and family, and looking at how to expand my creativity in the work that I'm doing.
I completely agree. To be honest, though, I was reluctant to let the summer go. But that feeling totally changed as soon as we had the opportunity to meet the class of 2029 earlier this week actually last week.
Yes, that's true.
Technically last week. When you've been an academic professional for a really long time, especially through some challenging times, you can feel tired or worn down, but the enthusiasm and excitement of our incoming class is motivating for me, and I can't help but feel energized, and my love for what we do is renewed. So the Foundation's roller coaster has officially left the station.
Oh, yeah. And it is. It's going up for now.
You buckled in?
Oh,
Did you put in the safety bar?
Have I? we might actually need that here, just like a safety
little
bar.
Safety bar.
So we approach every new stage in our lives with a mixture of excitement and a little bit of anxiety, as well as from different perspectives. And that's why I really loved the discussion we shared with students during the 5-minute poem session last week.
You know, embarking on a new step in life can be really overwhelming, and not necessarily in a bad way, but just, kind of a sensory overload, emotional overload. But the poem exercise was designed to give us a moment to pause and reflect on the people, places, and experiences that supported us to this juncture, as well as where we plan to go from here.
Mm-hmm. It also helps us engage in exploring our social identity, as we spoke about, and reflect on where we come from and how that impacts our professional identity formation.
For me, one of the things I highlighted in my poem was this idea of a split identity. I'm Egyptian Canadian, born and raised in Edmonton, brought up with cultural and religious values, but growing up, I never felt Canadian enough nor Egyptian enough when visiting relatives. So this can lead to an identity crisis. And professionally, I'm a researcher, but also an educator with an interest in teaching, and it can be hard to reconcile these different roles.
It really highlighted how our roots have shaped us and how they shape the way that we actually interact with others, opening up the potential for powerful connections in the medical profession and our personal lives. The instructions for the poem encouraged a 4-stanza structure, starting each line with "I am from," and using sensory details to describe people, places, and things that define us. It's a foundational process of thinking, acting, and feeling like a physician, constantly evolving throughout medical education. This summer, I struggled with identity, exploring all the different parts of my social identity, ensuring I get the most out of them in my work and family life. When I started medical school, I had a ton of worries. One was whether I would stack up against my peers, which is where imposter syndrome comes up. And another was finding my place in medicine. And the underlying worry was, who am I? It's why we want to talk about identity earlier rather than later.
Yeah, it's so great to hear you share these reflections, because I experienced many of these feelings. One thing that stands out in my mind is when I entered grad school, and definitely as I started postdoctoral training. So I did my postdoc training with Dr. John Hall at the University of Mississippi Medical Center. And that's where a lot of what we know about cardiovascular and renal physiology was discovered by him and his mentor, Dr. Arthur Guyton. So I can even say that despite being older and more established in our careers, we share a lot of these feelings as we embarked on the new adventure coordinating the foundations block, we can say several years ago now. But I've still got butterflies as we enter into round 5 this year.
Yeah. It's actually difficult to believe that we've been doing this now we've done it for 4 years, and this will be our 5th year.
Yeah, it's flown by, I feel like.
And there's feelings of excitement, hopefulness, and as we mentioned before, anxiety. And those never really go away. And they're a common, very common experience that we don't have to often talk about. And many of you are probably experiencing that right now. In fact, our listeners probably have the shared feelings about starting medical school or moving to a different city or even just starting another chapter in your life. You're finally excited about sort of pursuing a career that you've dreamt of for a long time. And you're excited about new information and skills you'll learn while meeting new people and making new friends.
Yeah, I also noticed that meeting new people is a common source of trepidation.
You bet it is. When I first started, my social anxiety was very apparent to me, and I found it incredibly hard and worrisome to try to network and expand my social network within medicine because of the imposter syndrome and then obviously social anxiety.
Yeah. So the opportunity for reflection and reminding ourselves of our background is so valuable, especially when we embark on a new phase in our lives or engage in a new opportunity when there might be feelings mixed in which are not necessarily positive or optimistic.
Yeah, and I think that holistic perspective is so vital. This idea of bringing our whole selves to medicine was beautifully echoed by our special guests, Bean Gill and Marlis Taylor.
Yeah, their presentations were truly captivating and powerful, and they offered such a unique perspective on our community, covering topics like accessibility and supporting marginalized communities. A common theme they shared that really resonated with me was giving people a chance and having faith in others, which I felt also extends to giving ourselves a chance too.
And that's a crucial message, especially in medical school, where it can be tempting to compare ourselves with peers instead of focusing on our potential and pursuing our personal best, which is apparent, I mean, for many people, more productive. As a mentor once said to me, striving to be the best can imply that there's no more room to grow.
Exactly. You never want to be the best in whatever you're doing because you want to be able to strive and look up to people and have those goals. So this ties directly into the concept of a growth mindset, something that we're going to explore in huddle sessions. It means we're always learning, always challenging ourselves and embracing the possibilities, just as Bean Gill encouraged us to consider what's possible and take away limitations.
And all of this is part of the continuous development of our professional identity. On that note, since Foundations wrapped up last November, we've been continuously thinking about our block. We've made some updates from learning objectives to content in certain subject areas in response to student feedback, which we value tremendously.
You know, Foundations never actually stops. Like technically it ends in November, but for us, it just continues on and we really enjoy doing that and putting in the work to update everything for the upcoming year. So our block refresh also includes an update of our weekly review sessions. These sessions are mostly led by year 2 medical students. So we have Christy Chan, which is working with us this year. And the purpose is to highlight crucial learning objectives, cover multiple choice questions, and also serve as a model for thinking about test-taking strategies in order to help you feel more comfortable with assessments and feel ready and prepared before that midterm and final exam come around.
Last week, we had important introductions to key support systems, the Office of Advocacy and Wellbeing, for example, which is a confidential, safe space dedicated to helping all learners meet their academic and personal potential.
Yeah, they offer a wide range of services, including support for mental health, physical health, disability and accommodation, career planning, academic support, and even financial planning. They're there to help with everything from imposter syndrome, so that feeling that everyone else is smarter and managing better than you, which isn't true, to just needing somebody to chat with.
And I can't stress that enough. Not only is OAW a place to talk about that, but hopefully during Foundations, it's an opportunity for some of you to be comfortable enough to actually start talking about those types of things, because we still feel imposter syndrome all the time, it's a natural feeling. And let's not forget our academic affairs led by Dr. Matthew Curran and Dr. Rebecca Mitchell. They oversee and support students on their academic and professional journeys, dealing with everything from academic performance reviews and accommodations to professionalism and academic standings. If students are struggling with time management, study strategies, or test anxiety, this team is there to help, emphasizing active learning and using learning objectives as a framework for studying. They want to remind students that you are not alone And their meetings are not punitive, but rather to help identify barriers to success. And on that note, we do actually have a session after the midterm that does break down test-taking strategies in a little bit more detail and really just emphasizes that academic affairs is there to support you in your journey in this profession.
Yeah, that support is so vital. Last week, we also introduced longitudinal clinical experience, or LCE, in family medicine. This involves 5 half-day sessions with a family doc, providing early experiential clinical opportunities where you can begin to develop your identity as a physician. It's not just shadowing, it's much more than that. You'll have the opportunity to practice history taking using the RESPECT framework and physical exam skills with real patients. And this framework and all of these things we've been talking about just now, you're going to learn about that a little bit later in our blog.
And we can't forget interprofessional education, which is crucial for developing the collaborator role as a future physician. The InterD 403 Foundations of Collaborative Practice course offered by the College of Health Sciences brings students from 11 programs together to learn with, from, and about each other to improve collaboration and quality of care. And fun fact, I've actually had a tiny bit of a role helping them with one of their AI assignments. So stay tuned for that, and more than happy to accept some feedback from that, depending on how things go. There's also an IPE launch day practicum on October 3rd.
Yeah, it really will showcase that healthcare is a team sport. It reminds me something of like in some, so okay, let me backtrack. Let me take a minute. So it reminds me of a conversation I had with my postdoc mentor. And he was saying your goal is never to be independent. So if for a while, I don't know if it's still around, but for a while there was a fixation to become independent. And, you know, from a scientific perspective, the fixation was you want to be an independent investigator.
Right.
You want to be in your lab, do it all by yourself.
Right.
And just carry that load and excel at the same time. And so he was very wise, and he was like, well, the goal is not to be independent. The goal is to be interdependent.
Yes.
Where you recognize strengths in your colleagues, in your peers, in members of the community, people from different professions, and you work together for a common goal.
Yeah.
So in this case, it's the best outcome for your patients, or whatever the case may be. But definitely that still sticks in my mind. So look forward to IPE, because that's where all of that is highlighted. All of these experiences that you've had last week really set the stage for understanding the CanMEDS framework. And this guides medical education in Canada, like we've described. It emphasizes not just the medical expert role, which is admittedly heavy focus in medical school, but it also incorporates other roles too. So we refer to those as intrinsic roles, such as communicator, collaborator, professional, scholar, health advocate, and leader.
And these intrinsic roles are woven into everything that we do, including the stories of the week. These are clinical case studies that blend all CanMEDS objectives, drawing from the experiences of faculty, students, and community members, really to come together in the patient's story. They're designed to help students learn about narrative medicine, encouraging reflection and understanding the patient's point of view beyond just a clinical presentation.
So that was a pretty good overview of an action-packed orientation week. But before we wrap up, I have to get to the really hard-hitting journalistic questions.
Always, always.
So to our new listeners out there, this is a tradition. So we always end with the really important question. So the important question I'm going to start with, Roshan, what is your favorite food?
And still to this day, despite so many changes to my diet and lifestyle, my favorite food, without question, is cereal. I'm what do we say, a 6-year-old boy at heart? We now have, we didn't talk about this on our first take, that didn't go so well because this thing didn't record, and we had a whole bunch of technical issues with new technology. We now have Fruit Loop Fridays with the boys. And funny enough, despite the alliteration, it is now no longer Fruit Loop Fridays because they love Cinnamon Toast Crunch
Okay.
more than Fruit Loops,
Oh,
which is mild blasphemy on my part. There's also now Cinnamon Toast Graham Crunch, which, anyways, that's a digression.
that's a weird fusion.
But definitely, if you were to ask me what my favorite cereal is at Fruit Loops, and that's why we have a tradition called Fruit Loop Friday, we'll hopefully maintain that. I was not allowed to eat sugary cereals growing up.
Okay.
I was allowed cornflakes as well as Rice Krispies.
Yeah.
And so this is the natural evolution of...
So you're making up for lost time.
Making up for lost time, both for food and entertainment. I wasn't allowed to watch any TV growing up, or very little TV. And now, man almighty, the stuff that I watch, if my younger self knew that, wow, he'd be eating cereal all day now, just watching TV.
Okay, follow-up question. Do you believe the different Fruit Loop colors taste different?
In my mind, they do.
Okay. Well, I mean,
Like
the sensory input is really part of the taste experience, right? So if it looks a different color, it probably tastes a different
Should definitely
flavor.
have a podcast episode where we bring like a neurologist on board or a neuroscientist.
What part of the brain is activated when you eat Fruit Loops?
Roshan goes under a functional MRI to see which parts of his brain light up with the different.
We should actually put a pin in that. That sounds like it would be pretty fun.
And what about you, Shereen? What's your favorite food?
So that's a tough one because I'm a live to eat kind of girl. So it's hard to pick just one type of food. So I would have to say pita bread with kebabs and hummus, which I honored in my 5-minute poem. That's something I could eat every day, all day, including breakfast, even cold. I think sometimes, I mean, it has a different flavor profile when it's cold compared to when it's hot. So I don't know. So that would be my choice.
Okay.
Definitely. So I have to even kind of think back. Some really good memories are coming up. In our very first year as block coordinators, of course, we were trying to get to know each other as well. So I asked you a random question in our very first episode of this podcast, season 1, and it turned out to be the real test of our friendship. It is now a perennial favorite, so we have to bring it back. Now, I know you're a musician and you're into alternative rock, but are you also a Nickelback fan?
I am not. And I will temper my response,
Okay,
unlike
diplomatic.
previous years, because I think I was laying it on a bit thick for the purposes of entertainment.
Yeah.
I will say that I am not a Nickelback fan, and that's simply because I never got into them as much as I would like to. And I listened to them because they were on the radio all the time, and I definitely had them.
You couldn't escape. There was a period of time you couldn't escape them.
But I don't think I was a Nickelback fan. I didn't buy any of their records.
Yeah.
Funny enough, because it is on the heels of this event,
Yeah.
I went to, I joined my wife at her first concert, but it was for me because Creed was in town.
I can't believe.
Oh, this is a...
For your partner's first concert ever, you took her to see Creed. Of all things.
To be fair,
of all things.
To be fair, it was my resident who was an immunizer, who was our first round of foundations.
Class of 2025.
Never forget. And he had suggested that we go to this Creed concert. And I said, there's no way Creed is actually coming here. And definitely more nostalgic this time around, I'd have to say. I don't necessarily know. I've seen them before, and it was definitely a bigger deal for me back then. But this time, not as much.
Yeah.
Funny enough, the Out with the Old and with the New, one of my favorite new bands, Mammoth, was there. It's actually led by the son of Eddie Van Halen.
Oh,
Wolfgang Van Halen.
Yeah.
And so I love most of their songs, and I need to buy their records.
I have to check
and
it
just
out.
have I love it. So she got a chance to see that. That was her first. She's like a Taylor Swift fan, Backstreet Boys fan.
I agree.
And-
I agree with Backstreet Boys.
I think we both share the same views on Taylor Swift.
Yeah,
which
we're not Swifties.
No, we're not.
Unfortunately, no.
No. And I'm sure at some point we will have that conversation on the podcast and incur much wrath. But no, it was her first. It was her first, and she was game for it. She enjoyed it. She's like, we should do this.
That's good.
Because I've been to so many concerts throughout my life, and this is something that I love to do with her.
So would you say that the Creed experience was everything that you dreamed it would be and more?
Dreamed is a little much. It's funny because
Were
I think
you satisfied? Did you get your money's worth?
I was satisfied. I was not as enthused by their chart-topping hits, which drew me to them in the first place.
Yeah.
It's interesting how musical, I guess, sensibilities change over time, but that's what actually attracted them to me in the first place.
Yeah.
Like my brother, we were in a band with two other friends, and he really loved Mark Tremonti. I really love Scott Stapp. So we both tried to emulate them in a irreverent way. Like it was in a silly way, to be honest, because how does a 16-year-old East Indian boy sound like Scott Stapp? So that was hilarious. And my bandmates would insult me mercilessly for that. But I'd have to say that I was actually more interested in the songs that are lesser known. They still played most of their hits.
Okay.
So
I knew have to.
I know most of them, but they ended with their four biggest ones, which are like, mega hits.
Yeah.
Right? And it's still a part of who I am. It was still... I was kind of sad to see that like the crowd really only got engaged for those songs. Yeah. But it was a younger crowd.
Oh, okay.
That was the interesting thing. It was a younger crowd. So I can totally see them more gravitating towards some of the chart-topping hits.
So their parents brought them, probably?
No. By younger crowd, I mean like younger as in like in their 20s.
Listen to them.
Yes. I wonder if any of our listeners went there. I mean, nobody mentioned anything after we talked about it at the 5-minute poem session, but
I wonder if any of our listeners are Nickelback fans, because I'm a fan. I mean, I've heard some of the criticisms. I've known people that didn't like them because they felt like the songs followed like a formula. Mm-hmm. But there's some big songs that I like. And so if Creed wasn't your first concert, what was your first concert?
I see. This is the thing. I'm trying to go back to it. I think it was like concert.
Yeah.
I think it was something like Fred Penner or like for little kids. And I do count that as a concert. Fred Penner was an incredible performer.
Yeah.
The last one that I can remember, the most recent ones that I went to were Foo Fighters and Billy Talent.
Oh, yeah.
One in Edmonton, one in Ottawa. Those are the last ones that I can recall. I mean, I've been to Blues Fest in Ottawa quite a few times and been able to sort of partake in those concerts. But seeing people like specifically, those are the last two that I remember at least.
Yeah.
What about yours?
That's me, yeah.
What about yours?
Only if you're not going to laugh.
Oh, promise.
Okay. My first concert was Savage Garden.
Love it.
Savage Garden at the old Coliseum.
Nobody knows
here
Savage
in Edmonton.
Garden. I think Google listens because I think on YouTube a meme showed up about Savage Garden.
Oh, no. No, it's a meme.
like or some short. I was like, that's strange. Savage Garden's never shown up before.
Our devices are listening.
My phone is listening to me.
So I think that very starkly says Zennial.
Oh my goodness. Savage Garden is like the first thing I thought of, even before it was in the script, was that is like so classically Zennial.
Yes, it is.
Right?
It is. And I was like very close to the stage too. So it was a good experience.
I don't know if you've seen, they've got now, I'm now getting into concerts a slightly bit more, and they've got these loop earbuds that you can actually wear to protect your hearing. I wonder if I want to try that out, but it depends on, like if I go to a Taylor Swift concert, I don't think I'm going to need it, or a Backstreet Boys concert, but if I go to more of these rock concerts that I would love to go to, the only issue is a lot of the bands that I like are in the States. And I'm not going to travel to the States right now. Not yet.
It's not the right time.
Not the right time.
Not the right time.
Well, class of 2029, it will be interesting to see how you feel about this. You can head to assess.med and go to live questions to share your view on the Nickelback versus Creed issue and a variety of other questions relating to your interests and backgrounds. You can also find a link to these questions in the Foundation's student forum because we want to start increasing that engagement within the class, especially with our two sites. It's just for fun. No marks involved.
It's not on the test.
Nope. We'll tally up the results over the next week and reveal who is the winner of this battle, either in our next weekly review session or more than likely at our next podcast, either the one coming up. We're going to record this one on Friday, but maybe the week after.
Yeah. Before we go, if you could go back in time and tell your first year med student self something at the end of orientation week, what would it be?
And I think this applies to everyone
Mm-hmm.
because I think you really have to think a little bit more about this statement. You're good enough.
Mm-hmm.
And by that, I mean, even if you think that you've got everything sorted out, when we start a big chapter in our lives like this, it's natural to feel like you don't belong here.
Mm-hmm.
No matter how
Yeah.
confident you feel. I see some people in classes that start med school that have a lot of confidence, that are at least outwardly projecting that, and some
Yeah.
others that very clearly don't. I was
Mhm.
someone that very clearly did not have that starting off.
Mm-hmm.
What you feel inside, like you are good enough.
Mm-hmm.
You might not realize it, but you're a good enough person to be the physician that you want to be more importantly, the caregiver you want to be. And so I think it's really important that you take the time, especially during foundations, especially with the way that we've crafted it, to spend that time and reflect on your personal journey, your social identity, your professional identity formation. What about you, Shereen? What advice would you give your younger self?
I would say be true to yourself and to your values, even in the face of tremendous pressure to change or mold yourself into someone you're not. I would also tell my younger self something I still remind myself of all the time. Stay humble, not just because Kendrick Lamar told us to. The more we learn, the more we realize that our knowledge is so small compared to what's out there. And also keeping in mind information is actively being discovered. So it's okay to say, I don't know. And we don't need to know everything all the time. Hopefully, in foundations and beyond, we can support all of our listeners out there in developing that confidence to say, I don't know, but also to equip all of you with the tools to access and use trusted resources and the confidence to reach out to colleagues, for example, and have discussions and try to figure things out. So I think lifelong learning and a growth mindset is going to be important.
Yeah. All right, class of 2029, it was wonderful to meet all of you last week and continue to meet all of you. Thank you all for an amazing orientation week experience. Before we wrap up, we each wanted to share a 5-minute poem that came to us anonymously through the live Q&A during class, and we weren't able to get to earlier this week. Thank you once again for your incredible and unprecedented participation in this important session on exploring your social identity and professional identity.
Mm-hmm.
I am from weekend WhatsApp calls to family and friends. I am from the city of trees. I am from jollof rice and scorching hot days. I am from spending holidays with those who don't have family around. I am from be the best at whatever you set your mind to. I am from this too shall pass. I am from we didn't make it this far to give up now. I am from what can I do to help now? I'm here for you in whatever way you need. I am from coffee and bubble tea runs at all times of the day. I am from having 3 different group chats with the same 3 people. I am from spontaneous group sushi and shawarma trips midday. I am from pull out your calendars and put these plans in now.
I'm from creeks where the mangroves stand. I'm from whispers of tides shaping stories in the white sand. I'm from salty breezes mixed with fishermen stories. I'm from echoes of paddles journey with boats. I'm from Afro beats and vibes. I'm from footsteps dancing to ancestral heat. I'm from markets that are vibrant and alive. I'm from spices, laughter, and seafood dishes. I'm from echoes of elders, wisdom, and proverbs. I'm from diverse traditions and cultures. I'm from spare the rod and spoil the child. I'm from Sunday's best and Sunday school. I'm from a place where warmth clings to the skin. I'm from where cold seeps into bone. I'm from culture, diversity, and unity. I'm from muddy waters and the Red River. Take care, everybody. We'll catch up with you again soon.
Take care, everyone.